It's not about, it's not about, it's not about the injury. It's not about, it's not about, it's not about the injury. It's about the recovery. It's about the recovery.
Hi folks, Paul Padda here with another episode of the Paul Padda Podcast coming to you from Red Chimp Studios. Today I have a really special guest, someone who is an amazingly engaged person in our community. You do so much good work. Welcome on the show, Lena Walkther.
Thank you so much.
It's really a
for
pleasure
having
to have you. We have a common friend, Sudeep Nigam.
Yeah,
And I've
great
seen
guy.
you at various events. And first of all, I don't know how you get the energy to be involved in so many different things. So you're the honorary counsel of the Swedish government, right? Since 2006 here in Las
Correct.
Vegas. You are also the co-founder and president of Awareness is Prevention, which is a very important organization. Tell our viewers about what is Awareness is Prevention.
Awareness is Prevention works with educating and training the public on human trafficking and with a focus on sex trafficking of minors. That's my focus.
Yeah, that's a significant issue in Las
Yeah.
Vegas especially.
Oh yes, it is.
We'll get into that, but before, viewers always like to know a little bit about our guests. Tell us, how long have you lived in Las Vegas? What brought you here? Are you originally from the city? How did you end up becoming a Las Vegan?
Well, I guess my accent is giving me away. I'm not from here. I'm Swedish. I have lived here 22 years.
Wow.
Came here as an entrepreneur, but I spent 20 years prior all over the world working as a Swedish diplomat. And then, as it turned out, after I married an American Foreign Service officer, then I joined the American service too. So I worked for the American Embassy overseas as well.
Growing up in Sweden, did you ever think you would be living in Las Vegas one day?
No, and I came here the first time when we lived in Paris, France,
Uh-huh.
back in '91, I think it was. And we were here on vacation, and had someone told me I was going to end up living here, I would have said, never happened.
Yeah. What do you love about Vegas the most?
I think the people. I like to. You meet a lot of
There's
interesting
a lot of diversity
people.
here.
Yeah.
A lot of different types of people.
Yeah.
You know what I've always found fascinating and really what I like about Vegas is that you can come from anywhere in the world and you can make it here.
Yes.
It's very much a quintessential city in the sense of American city in that, you know, people, some cities, you know, it's like how many generations of your
Yeah.
family and how much influence do you have. But in Las Vegas, if you're willing to work hard, you can make it.
Yeah.
The other thing
absolutely.
about Vegas, I'm sure you've experienced this, is that you go anywhere in the world and you tell people we're from Las Vegas and everybody knows what that is.
Yes.
Even if they've never been here, they have an idea about
Oh
it.
yeah, absolutely.
We are what we'd call a glamour city.
Yeah.
But with that, obviously comes, there's an dark underside. People from all over the world come here, and now I want to dovetail into what your work with Awareness is Prevention, just so important. Tell our viewers, first of all, if people want to learn more about human trafficking and especially about sex trafficking, is your organization on the internet?
Yeah, we have a website, aipnv.org.
aipnv.org. Okay.
Yeah. Go to the website. There are documentaries there. There is statistics. Keep in mind, when reading statistics change every other month. And statistics is only of the cases we know. There's just as many cases, if not twice as many, that we don't know.
Of course, yeah.
So it's always good.
What got you interested in this issue, Lena?
I opened a consulate. I'm the Swedish consul, so I opened the consulate 2006. And I had a girl, a Swedish woman, calling me, actually probably a few months thereafter, and asked me to come and rescue her and her 4-month-old baby she had with her trafficker. And I said no, absolutely not. We're all going to get killed. And I said, you have to grab that baby when you can and just run out of the apartment, get to a phone, call 911. The police will pick you up. They're going to take you to a shelter, and then I can help you. And I had her out of Las Vegas within a week with the baby. I can do emergency passports. I did that. I got the airplane tickets and just out.
So she was a victim of human trafficking?
She came here as a tourist.
Okay.
Smart woman. She wasn't even that young. She was close to 30. And she came on vacation, met this guy. And remember now, in 2006, we didn't talk about trafficking.
Yeah.
And she thought it was going to be in romance. And she stayed. You know, you can stay longer than 3 months with the visa waiver program. But and then as it happened, as she fell in love, then it turned 180 degrees, which they always do, and started trafficking her.
Wow. Oh, started putting her out on the street to be a prostitute. Horrible.
Yeah.
You know, people often think of human trafficking and especially sex trafficking as something that is a quote-unquote third world problem. But it happens even in countries like America, right?
America, the Philippines, and Mexico are the 3 worst countries in the world.
Why do you think that is? Is there something cultural about it here, or?
No, I really don't know. I really don't know. Well, first of all, we have to remember, for a trafficker, it's all about the money. Nothing else.
Right.
And this is a $150 billion business worldwide.
Wow.
Cash. Remember now, it's cash. Very hard to follow the money. 35 billion in the US alone. We're talking a lot of money. A trafficker makes on average about 200,000 to 500,000 a year per girl.
Oh my goodness.
You imagine if you have 8 to 10 girls, it's
Right.
a lot of money.
So these are very manipulative type people who understand human psychology.
Yep.
And they somehow manage to manipulate vulnerable victims.
Exactly.
And turn them into prostitutes against their will.
Yep.
And so they make money off of that.
Yep, make a lot of money.
Wow.
Because the poor victim doesn't make anything.
So how big an issue and problem is this in Las Vegas?
Very bad. This is one of the hot spots, partly because you can hide anything here under the glitz.
Why, give me some examples of some other stories you've seen and been able to be involved with here in Las Vegas involving human trafficking.
Well, it's, you know, we had a sad incident that I actually wrote about, and it was picked up by Homeland Security magazine nationwide, which led us now to train Henderson Police Department. But it was a Lithuanian girl that came in. This is a couple of years ago. And she get off the plane, and she said she was going to go and visit a friend who was living at Wynn, and they threw her in detention. They claimed that she didn't have enough money, and her friend had probably overstayed her visa. And a female guard called my Lithuanian consul colleague and said, you know, we have a Lithuanian girl here. She's sleeping on the floor. We don't have enough beds. She hasn't done anything wrong. And my colleague called me and asked what to do. I said, just go right down to the detention center and talk to her in Lithuanian, her own language. And as it's unraveled, they sent her back. The 2 days later, they did not want to give her cell phone so she could actually see the phone number to call at her friends. She didn't know it by heart, and she didn't really know the girl that well. It was a classic case of an international trafficking. Here she has an airplane ticket from Lithuania. She's going to replace the one who's been here for a little over 3 months, and now she's going to stay for 3 months. But if you don't know what to look for, you can't pick it up.
Yeah.
So that was the final conclusion of my article was if you're not trained, you will miss things like this.
Is this human trafficking, and especially the sex component, is this something that you find mostly with young women, or does it involve men as well?
It involves boys. 15% are young boys.
50%?
15.
Oh, 15%, okay. Well, that's a significant
and
number.
it's growing. It's growing.
Wow.
They are normally a little bit younger than the girls. Average age of a trafficked girl is somewhere around 12, 13, 14. It's hard to say exactly. And boys a year or two younger.
You know, there was a recent article in the paper involving the prosecution of an individual who was alleged to have been running a prostitution ring. And what I was kind of intrigued by in the article was that this individual was so brazen that he said he wanted to target the children, the daughters especially, of police officers and judges. What that really highlights is that people often think victims of sex trafficking come from just generally a poor background, but that's not always true, is it?
No, it truly can happen to anybody. really. And of course, you have the most vulnerable are the kids in the foster care system. They run away from a bad situation, and they end up on the street.
Yeah.
And here comes someone, you know, normally within 36 hours, we'll pick them up and offer them a place to stay and food.
I mean, the
to
common
eat.
denominator is you're dealing with emotionally or sometimes financially, physically vulnerable people.
Yeah,
who are
but
subject-
now it's a wave among the traffickers. They're going after the really good-looking girls, the well-kept girls, you know, with the nice skin, the nice teeth. They have been taken care of, and they are from a different
strata.
and they get much more money for them.
Man, this has to be every parent's nightmare. So what advice would you offer parents as far as signs to look for?
You have to look for some of the first signs is they are skipping school or they're getting lower grades. All of a sudden they have a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
You know, new clothing, new designer purses, maybe a second cell phone, things like that. And they get more and more quiet, even with their friends. They will very seldom share anything because they're told not to tell anybody.
Are there particular locations where...
Shopping malls.
Shopping malls? Okay.
Shopping malls are the worst place. I tell parents, please don't send your girls to the shopping malls on weekends to shop. If you do, have a large group of them and be yourself there somewhere in the mall. Of course, they don't want you to be right with them, but a text message away.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of this also requires parents getting to know their children better, getting more involved in their lives. You know, we live in a society where people just work all the time, and sometimes these things can happen right under your nose without knowing it. I'm sympathetic to the parents.
Oh,
sometimes
yeah, I am too.
They have to put food on the table, and people have to work several jobs and a night shift maybe. But again, you know, you now have a young child who may be feeling neglected, and people when they're young, they don't have the judgment that they get when they're older. And they're more vulnerable to someone who may come in and make them feel special in the beginning, but is actually a monster, really.
Yeah, and remember now, most of the grooming happens online. They think they're talking to maybe a 14, 15-year-old boy, whereas talking to a 45, 50-year-old pedophile.
Explain that phrase, grooming, because I've heard that from law enforcement before. You know, I used to be a federal prosecutor.
Yeah.
So I've never really dealt in this area. I actually had one case and it was so disturbing to me, I couldn't do it. I have the highest respect for people who prosecute these type of crimes because they really are disturbing on so many levels. But
they are.
Explain that concept to people. What is grooming?
Grooming is, they call it the Romeo pimp. Is the one who's going to charm you, and he picks, and remember now, a lot of these guys are young, good-looking young men, and early 20s, and they know exactly what to go for. They're going to approach the girl who doesn't have a lot of self-esteem. They can pick them out. They normally study child psychology. They know exactly what to go for. And they are the most charming, the nicest people. And they're going to groom you until you fall in love. And do it very nicely, even if it takes 6 to 8 months. It doesn't matter to them. Once you've fallen in love, then they switch 180 degrees. And that's when they start drug you and hit you and put you out on the street or whatever they put you to.
What is law enforcement in this city doing to combat this? Do you think they're doing enough?
They are, you know, the Vice unit is incredible. They're very specially trained. They're doing a lot. FBI is doing a lot. Homeland Security is doing a lot. It's just such an enormous problem. You can't, I mean, even if you look at, we know the homeless youth. You know, we have 2,000 homeless youth on the streets every night.
That's crazy.
How can you check on all this? And they are the most vulnerable, of course. But they can't be everywhere. So I'm sure you've seen the sign, say something, see something, say something.
Yeah.
It's the new slogan the police have, and it's because they need help from the public. And if you live in a neighborhood, for example, you see a house, it doesn't look like a normal family lives. There's a lot of men coming and going, whatever. Call the police. Call, just report it. You don't have to give your name if you don't want to. You can be anonymous. You just report what you see, give the address. They will check into it.
That's great advice. Okay. Well, we're going to take a break now. There's a segment of our show we call Paul Padda for the People. But today we have some really great information about human trafficking and especially sex trafficking So please pay
Good.
attention, folks. Hey, welcome back, folks, to the Paul Padda podcast. We have a wonderful guest, Lena Walkther. Really, you're an amazing person. You're involved with so many things. Where do you find the time to do all these? And these are not like inconsequential things. I can barely, get up and go to the gym in the morning sometimes. And how are you? And you're involved with human trafficking issues, which is so important to our community. You are also the honorary Consul General of the Swedish Embassy here. Are you involved in any other businesses? Private
No,
business?
I actually resigned from my other board positions. I
Okay.
had a number of them, but it became too much.
Well, it's amazing work that you're doing because awareness is prevention, as the name of your organization, but that's so true. We were talking before the break about some of the signs that a person can look for, like a house that may have unusual activity. I have a friend actually in Philadelphia who not prosecuted, but sued a motel chain where he saw that there were all kinds of inappropriate activities going on, and he could establish a pattern. And I think sometimes when sometimes people complain about too many civil lawsuits in this country, but when you hit people where it hurts, when they have to pay a judgment, that's when the people start paying attention.
Absolutely.
And we probably see this a lot even here with all those small motels and inns, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But someone has to report it. The police cannot do everything.
Of course,
it's impossible.
It's impossible.
And they need the public to help out.
Yeah. So what are some of the other signs apart from that type of activity? Maybe just what about a huge age disparity between a man and a woman?
If you see an older man, and in airports, I mean, remember, they fly with their victims a lot too.
Yeah.
They are training airline personnel now for that reason. But if you see a young girl normally looking scared, the victim will never look someone in the eye. They will look down, they avoid eye contact, they will not speak unless they have to anyone. And they probably dressed provocatively, and they are there with an older guy that very obviously is in charge or takes care of everything. It's a sign. And
I have a friend who was an FBI agent. He told me that sometimes in Las Vegas, when you have these big conventions, these pimps will even fly these girls in from other cities. I couldn't believe that. I found that so hard. It's amazing. But when you stop and think about it, right? I mean, essentially, it makes a lot of sense.
And the conventions are not the worst. They're bad enough. Sports.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl is the worst one, and then you're going to see more and more activities here when the Raiders come in.
Yeah.
That's just a sad reality.
That's a sad reality. I mean, obviously, it's great for our city, and there's a lot of that's part of, I guess, the underside or the dark side of being a international type city that has people coming in from all over. And then, what is your experience as far as casinos here as well? I mean, without naming names, I'm sure this happens.
Of course. I have to give a shout out to ARIA.
Okay.
ARIA has an incredible security force.
Really?
They are super trained.
Excellent.
And they help the girls.
Oh, that's great.
They reach out to them, and that's gotten to so well known among the girls that are being trafficked that they can go to ARIA and get help.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Not to be reported as trespassing as is the normal thing, when they get into the detention center for a while. So I hope they all will follow what ARIA is doing.
Well, in the city, we have all these strip clubs. You have these moving trucks that have signs that say girls coming to your room. It kind of creates a mentality that somehow it's acceptable and okay.
Yeah, when you come here as a tourist, you don't even know that it's illegal in Clark County.
Yeah.
But I hear they're going to put up signs at the airport.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I think they might have already done it. It's a prostitution is illegal in Clark
What happens in
County.
Vegas may get you prosecuted in
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
exactly. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but they have to be informed, and I mean, you can't blame a tourist for not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not like you study up on things like that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, switching gears a little bit, tell us about your role with the Swedish Embassy. That's fascinating as well.
Yeah.
Is there a large Swedish population here in Las
No,
Vegas?
but there are a lot of people visiting here, both for conventions and tourists.
Okay.
And I do emergency passports, and very few of us do emergency passports. We are 26 honorary consuls all across the U.S. And we're only 6 of us doing emergency passports.
So what does that mean, an emergency passport?
It means that you normally they steal a lot of passports,
Okay.
because you get up to $10,000 for a Swedish passport on the black market.
Really?
6 to 10,000, yeah. There is a website, I don't know the website, but there's a website you can go to and order what you want.
Yeah. Well, I guess it makes sense. It sounds like a very desirable country to go to, right?
Well,
I mean,
you can travel everywhere in the world with a
World.
Swedish passport.
Oh, wow.
We
That's
have
right.
no restrictions.
No visa required?
No,
Really?
very seldom, very seldom.
Huh.
And if it is, it's no problem to get the visa.
Interesting. Wow.
So they're very popular passports, and other EU passports as well, not only Sweden. So they steal a lot of the passports, and here you are as a tourist, you need to get back.
What is the population of Sweden?
It's close to 10 million now.
Wow,
9.5,
10 million people, but such an outsized image in the world, you know, when people,
Oh, yeah.
you know, just so, yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty neat country.
yeah.
You know, we have
I
something
bought a
in
Volvo,
Sweden.
by the way.
Oh, good for you. I drive a Saab.
Nothing like Swedish engineering.
Yeah. We have something called the Swedish model, the Nordic model, which was implemented 1999 in Sweden. And what it means is they don't only go after the traffickers, they go after the buyers.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
That's the key.
That's the key. You're right.
Because you got to stop, you got to ruin the business model. And the business model is money.
Yeah.
And you stop the demand, there goes your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to promote it as much as I can here, and I've started getting a lot of positive response.
Well, we've talked a little bit about sex trafficking, not a little bit, we've talked mostly about sex trafficking in Las Vegas, but there's another phenomenon, that is Americans traveling abroad for the purpose of sex.
Yeah.
How big a problem is that?
It's a big problem.
Yeah,
They
especially
go
in countries
to
like
Asia.
Thailand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, has that
Thailand,
reputation.
Cambodia, Philippines.
Right. I remember seeing a documentary, and it was just, oh my God, it was heartbreaking.
Oh, it's
You
terrible.
see these young girls, literally girls,
Oh, they are 5, 6, 7 years old.
just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people don't realize that if you travel abroad for the purpose of sex with an underage child, that is a crime that you
Yes.
can be prosecuted for right here
That's
in the United
right,
States.
but they don't know that.
Yeah. Well, we need more awareness of that,
Yeah.
and people need to, you know, I think that slogan, see something, say something, is great. We need more vigilance, you know.
We do. We just need people to understand they are serious about
Yeah.
asking for help.
Right.
And you can be anonymous. People are so afraid to give their name out or whatever, and they don't have to.
Okay. Well, any parting words or advice for people out there who might be watching who are concerned about, you know, this the
Well,
prospect?
for children and for parents, please don't have your children walk alone to school or from school. Don't think it doesn't happen at 8 o'clock in the morning, because it does. They can get abducted. They can, if they're alone, they're very vulnerable. So never walk alone. Always go out in a big group. Watch what your kids are doing online. It's a scary place with the cell phone. There's so many apps now that takes you right to pornography, right to things that children should not be involved with.
Lena, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Thank
You
you.
are truly, we're lucky to have you here in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
you so much.
Appreciate it so much.
Thank you for
Paul.
all your work.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's another episode of the Paul Padda Podcast. Thank you for watching. Until next time, be safe. Take care.
It's not about